Celebrating 20 years of business ownership this April, Miss Amy Collins has risen to one of the nation's top event professionals. Reciprocated in her industry for sharp business acumen, her honest approach and extreme attention to detail is one of Metro Detroit's rising stars. The last decade of her career has been based in Santa Barbara, California, where she received multiple business honors. Amy recently relocated back to Metro Detroit to be near her family, expand her design practice, Amy Grace Events, and open one of Metro Detroit's hottest event venues, the Collins off Main. Besides her extensive business experience, she is an avid philanthropist and volunteer for the National Association of Women Business Owners and the Junior League of Ann Arbor. She has recently been nominated in Detroit's Hour's top wedding venues for 2022 in their first year of business. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's hear it for the wedding expert, Miss Amy Collins.
Hello everybody, how are we today? I'm trying to avoid this sunlight. Welcome. Are you guys all exhausted? Walking? Yeah, it's the end of the day. Promise we're gonna make this exciting. I want you to do me a favor really quickly, and I want you to say hi to your neighbor. Just say hi, tell them your name, your wedding date, and what's your biggest wedding stress. I'm not talking the people you came with. Maybe turn around, say hi to someone you don't know. This is an experiment, okay? All right. Did that feel slightly normal? Like maybe we're in COVID times? I stand on the stage today. It's interesting. 2 years ago, I was on this stage, and like they said, I have just relocated to this area again, and I have a big event planning company still in California, and we were talking about COVID before we were talking about it here in Michigan. And I stood on this stage, and I thought, oh my gosh, it's gonna change. And it was interesting because we really hadn't talked about it a lot here in Detroit. And then the next day, everything actually shut down in California. So this was the last normal thing for me as a vendor. And so it feels really good to be back on this stage talking to all of you and having this conversation, because I feel like we might be finally on the back end of COVID. So hopefully we don't have to keep talking about this situation, but I do think it plays into a lot of what you are experiencing and discussing right now in your wedding planning, okay? So like they said, I'm Amy Collins. I own the Collins off Main. We are a venue here in the greater Ann Arbor area. Check us out. Couple things, we love technology. So everything I'm gonna talk to you about is on a PDF. So if you walk over there and put your phone up to that QR code back there, just put in your email address and you will literally get all of this emailed to you, okay? So make it super simple for you. You don't have to furiously take notes or get that exhausted. But I'm gonna talk about a couple things, and I'm gonna talk to you not only about overall wedding planning and just kind of framing your brain through that, but I'm gonna give you some tips and tricks to think outside the box, because I think one of the most important things about wedding planning is making sure you make it about you. Make sure your wedding is about the two of you, okay? So we're gonna talk about that today. So Anna's gonna be my lovely Vanna White here today. Okay, so wedding planning, I'm a visual learner. Is anybody else a visual learner out there? Okay, yeah, exactly. So this is the best way I can explain to you how your wedding planning usually kind of plays out. Who has the biggest stress? Let's be honest, it's mostly money, right? I mean, honestly, you guys, in 20 years, I've never heard a person say, man, I just have too much money for my wedding. Wouldn't that be a great problem? That's never been told to me, okay? So usually budget is a huge limiting factor. The other thing we usually hear is your guest count, right? Oh, my mom wants me to invite my great aunt that I haven't spoken to in 15 years, right? Okay. So, and that's okay, we'll talk about that. And then also, this is another big one, expectations. Some of you have been Pinteresting, you've been dreaming, you've been doing a lot, give you all the Pinterest, right? I get that, and that's totally okay. The problem is that while you're doing all of that, you're actually creating this expectation in your head of what you think you have to have, okay? And I want to tell you that you can change all of those things, all right? And you can do whatever's best for you, all right? And here's the thing. I had a girlfriend, she owns Hazel and Gray Event Planning. She put up this hilarious story up, like, like Instagram stories. You can tell I don't run her Instagram. Good job, Callie. But it said, no one's gonna die if they don't attend your wedding. And it's a good point. You know what I mean? They may be disappointed. Dang, I wish I would have been there. But they're gonna be okay, all right? So keep that in mind. I'm giving you permission to cut your guest list, but I'm also gonna teach you some ways to do it, okay? So keep this in mind. This is how it should look while you're planning. Everything should be a triangle that's equally the same percentage, right? Or angle percentage. So your guest count should match your expectations, which should match your budget. Now my guess is most of you don't have your planning feeling like this, right? Probably feels a little bit more like this, right? Your guest count, I know this is kind of inverted, but your guest count's too much for like your budget, maybe your expectations. Or maybe we have the inverse that's just not enough money, but you do have a small guest list and your budget and expectations. So I'm guessing this is how most of you probably feel about your wedding planning. Does anybody feel like that about their wedding planning? Maybe it's a little off kilter. That's okay. Most people actually feel that way. So, go ahead, yeah. I'm going to talk to you about some averages, okay? Here's the danger about averages. You're gonna compare yourself to this, okay? So this, again, does not necessarily mean you or match what you're doing, but just keep this in mind because I'm gonna frame expectations right now because I think it's really important, all right? We as vendors, many of us, this is our career, this is our job, so we have to make this thing called profit or we don't pay our mortgage, okay? All right? Yes, you can probably do it cheaper yourself. We understand that, but you're hiring us as professionals to do our job, so yes, a good business owner should have some profit in their company. So please keep that in mind, okay? You also, I see a lot on the bridal pages of how people are comparing prices to each other. And what happens is you're comparing a lot of times two different types of vendors at very different spectrums of their career, okay? So you cannot compare myself to someone who's been in the industry for a year. I'm gonna tell you right now, had you got me 20 years ago, there was a lot of balls dropped, okay? Didn't think I was, but it's kind of embarrassing, all right? So please, when you're setting your budgets, the money you're setting, be proud of what you have. Don't stretch your budget. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm saying set and frame your expectation for the budget you have and understand that the vendor you get, if you can only afford someone new in their career, don't expect them, a photographer who is brand new, to be used to like a Nikki Marie or a Jen Boris, who we all love and probably follow on Instagram, okay? Those are women at the height of their career. All right? So I am telling you that because I think sometimes it's hard as we're booking vendors. We want the top, but maybe our budget isn't there. So you might have to do a little extra research. There are definitely diamonds in the rough. Talk to your friends, see who they loved. New up and coming people are always a great option. But I want to set those expectations because we are seeing an inverse in that right now. And I think a lot of that is just fatigue, exhaustion. We're just dealing with there's so many things that we can't control in the industry right now, which is difficult, okay? And unfortunately, you get to do this day once, right? And so it's really hard if it doesn't go exactly the way that you wanted it to go. So I'm just bringing that up because we're human as well, and we are trying our darndest to make your days absolutely perfect, but sometimes everything isn't gonna go okay. And I shouldn't say sometimes. Something's going to go wrong on your wedding day, whether you know about it or not. If you don't know about it, your planner was hecka good, let me tell you, because that's our job. But just keep that in mind. So these are the averages right now in Michigan. It's a $29,000 budget for 124 people. So I'm just gonna tell you that if you have a 250 person wedding, your budget for catering is gonna be real high, folks, okay? It's gonna be double what that standard average is. On average, you might be able to get something less, but just frame what the standard is and understand you might have to deviate from that, okay? The biggest expense is going to be your venue typically, and sometimes that includes catering, sometimes that includes bar. People like us, we have open, so that would be an additional cost. But just keep that in mind. So make sure you book your venue. Mostly that's usually your first stop. And then do not stop and look right at catering right now, guys. Food is very, very expensive. And I want to talk about that. And I promise you we're going to get really fun, exciting stuff. I get to educate you first, and then we get to get exciting at the end, I promise. But I want to talk to you about food because I think this is the number one expense that shocks people, okay? Who's gone to the grocery store and just been completely shocked at how expensive prices are? You guys, butter is insanely expensive right now. I love cooking with butter, so it hurts me. Okay, so I'm putting this into context right now because I think sometimes we, again, visual learners, we need to see this. But if you go to McDonald's right now and you get a Big Mac meal with a sundae, it's about $15. That is a highly systemized operation with they're running hundreds and thousands of people through their line. Their price profit margins are so low, okay? So when you're asking your caterer for a per head quote, start in your brain thinking, if I went to McDonald's and got this meal, how much would it cost? Okay, that's kind of the way to start your thinking about food. Then you kind of go up. You've got a counter service with like table delivery, which is like a Panera Bread, right? If you get a pick two with lemonade and a cookie, you're about 15 to 18 bucks. All right? Cheesecake Factory. Oh, love me some Cheesecake Factory. If I was to go there and have an app, a main meal, have 2 drinks, a dessert, I'm running about 45 to 55 with tax and tip in it. And then if I'm gonna go have a nice luxury sit-down dinner where I'm gonna get a nice steak at the Chop House in Ann Arbor, I'm spending about 130 to 170. The food is insane right now, guys, okay? So I say that because don't put off booking your caterers. Because I think what happens is a lot of people don't book that early enough, and then in the end, it's busting your budget. It also will reframe your brain to how many people can actually be on that guest list. Because the fastest way to cut your budget is to cut your guest list for catering, okay? And we'll kind of circle around about that in a little bit. Thanks, Anna. Okay, so let's think differently. Okay, there's not doom and gloom, and if you can afford all of that, that is absolutely fine. But I understand budget is the number one concern because I got into the Michigan Brides groups and I pulled you. What are the biggest concerns in your life? Budget, family, and guest count. That was it. It's very standard top 3. So, what are the fears around those? Your parents' reaction if you don't do the norm. Your friends' reactions. Are they gonna think different of me if I don't do something exactly like everybody else? I think a lot of times we're influenced by that thought process. But who feels like sometimes they've been to the same wedding over and over and over again because they really haven't made it about the couple, right? Okay, I think we've all kind of been that. I go to a lot of the same weddings. I go to them all the time. Just kidding. Okay, so we are gonna talk about 7 ways to kind of switch up your thought process. And again, if this is not for you, that is totally fine. But for those who know me, I'm a straight shooter. I'm gonna teach you how to do something fun, all right? So, first of all, stop sending your save the dates to the entire list. The original save the date problem, or the intent of save the dates in the original mindset was my aunt and uncle in Arizona need to come to this thing. They need to know about it. So you sent save the dates to your A list. Fastest way to cut your guest list, don't send your save the dates. Okay, just send them to your A list. Those are the people you really want to make sure show up at your wedding. And then, oops, there's 3 weddings in your family on the same day. Everyone can't come, too bad. You don't feel bad, you can still send them the invitation, but they may have something already booked that day. So it increases your chance of people not attending. It's kind of one of those things a lot of people don't talk about a lot. I see it on a lot of brides groups of people going, oh, I'm ready to send out my save the dates, and I just want so hardly to be like, don't send it to everybody. If food goes up, you might not be able to afford to invite all those people. So it's just a fun hack to think about. Number 2, signature drinks. This is a huge cost savings because, strangely enough, just beer and wine can actually sometimes be more expensive. Because we can limit the amount of alcohol in a beverage. People also get far more intoxicated at beer and wine weddings because, again, the alcohol percentage can never be changed in a glass. Okay, if your uncle likes to drink beer heavily, I can't stop him from drinking that if he's drinking the same item all evening long, right? But if it's a cocktail, we can dilute that when he starts to get to that level, okay? Also, you don't need a full bar. You can have signature cocktails and a beer and a wine, okay? If you have any questions, go talk to Miranda at Cloud9, because she is our queen bee in bartending world, so ask her all the things back there, okay? So signature drinks can be a huge cost savings to you, okay? Third off-season dates. Some of you may have a dream venue in your head that you really, really want. Hopefully it's us, just saying. But us on season versus us off season are very different pricing. But we are the exact same thing. Maybe the outside, you can't use it the same way, but you get the same experience, you get the same level of staff, but we're just significantly less. Guests will still come to your wedding. Also, you will cut the guest list because people may not be able to come. Friday weddings are heavily attended, you guys. They are attended just at the same level that a Saturday wedding is now. So keep that in mind. You're going to see a lot of cost savings with that. Okay, so, and additionally, not even just the off day, but off season. Winter weddings are beautiful. I mean, have you seen the fun furs that these girls are wearing this winter and the pretty snow coming down? Don't stroll yourself short. Think of an off-season date, okay? It can save you a lot of money and you still can get your dream venue a lot of the times. Okay, micro weddings. Micro weddings were huge in COVID, obviously, but it's still an option. Some of you are not people. I get it. My husband is that person. I am the friendly one. He is the quiet one, okay? So he would have loved a micro wedding. And so if that is you as a couple and you feel like it's more in alignment, then by all means, keep the trend up. Keep it going. Do a micro wedding at a beautiful place and then just go have a beautiful honeymoon. It's okay. People aren't going to die if they don't have a wedding to attend, all right? So do what's best for you and feel confident in it. Okay, number 5, cake and punch receptions. Okay, now hear me out on this. Do we have any parents in the room that actually had cake and punch receptions? Okay, this was like a thing pre-1950. Like it was like, first of all, I was unlucky to get married on a Saturday, fun fact. And then they would have these very simple like church weddings with cake and punch receptions. Now, I'm not saying you have to go quite that, simple, but there are beautiful cakes. In case no one looks on that at Pinterest or Sweet Heather Ann, I'm like obsessed with looking at cakes or desserts, okay? And punches can be different kinds of punches, mocktail bar, cocktail bar, whatever you want. But my point is, you could do this in the afternoon and save a lot of money, okay? Think outside the box. Again, these are for people that are looking for options that maybe aren't traditional. Go ahead, Anna. All right. Champagne and dessert receptions. Has anybody been to a champagne and dessert reception? Nobody? Okay, they're super fun. You traditionally don't do them until later in the evening. Thing 8:30, 9 o'clock. You have all candlelit ceremonies, and then afterwards you have like these beautiful dessert bars, champagne bars, cocktails as well. But they tend to be a little bit more on the heavier, the dancing side. They're a little bit later so that people know they're not coming for a meal. But they're a great option if you're trying to save some money and still have that nighttime feel and get the dancing in and all of that. Then by all means, this is a fun idea for you to think about, okay? And again, there's a way to make every single one of these ideas classy. And if you have any questions, you can always come talk to me in the booth, okay? And then this is my favorite that I'm gonna touch on before we're done. Sunday brunch weddings. Who loves brunch here? Yeah, come on. I know there's more of you. I love brunch, okay? If you wanna get married in 22, or heck, if you wanna get married in 23, there's a lot of Sunday dates open because of the way everything's been pushed around. Sunday brunch weddings are one of the most fun weddings you will ever go to. First of all, your costs on Sundays are significantly lower. You do them earlier, like an 11 a.m. service, and then you have lunch roughly 12:30, 1 o'clock, and you gotta think of it like waffle bars, omelet bars, mimosa bars, Bloody Mary bars. It's very cocktail style. You have lawn games. It is super fun. They're usually end a little bit earlier in the evening, like 7 p.m. So then if you do have people that want to go to work the next day, they can. We always include after parties, so our people still keep on going. But it's one of those things to think outside the box. And all of those type of food, depending on who uses your caterer, may be a less expensive option. I know I'm obsessed with it. We've been really working with people who want to come to our venue. They're like, oh, you might be a little bit outside my price range. Like, think about a Sunday. Let's talk about a brunch one. We have so many people who are like, this sounds so fun. And we are booking brunch weddings like it's going out of style right now. And I'm like, I'm going to be known as the person who does brunch Sunday weddings. So if that excites you, please come talk to us, because I think it's going to be this really fun trend. Follow our Instagram. We're going to be putting up some fun stuff. We have one coming up here in March. So again, it's a totally different way of thinking about your wedding, but people are going to talk about it. Okay? All right. And then lastly, just make your wedding you. Okay? That's really what I want to make sure you think about. Take the average wedding, about 85 to 90% of it is the exact same thing over and over for us, right? It's a structure, and that's okay. What makes weddings special is if you make them about you. Showcase a place you've been, foods you like, things that are about you. Make people excited to come to your wedding and go, oh gosh. I'm gonna use a quick example. My husband and I are Irish and Scottish, and like I said, he's a very steady human, just very chill. I'm very excitable. So I'm like whiskey, got a little bit of sass to me. He's like water, it's just chill. So we did a whiskey blend in our ceremony where we handed out a glass of blend of whiskey and water to all of our guests. And then instead of a unity candle, we did a mix, because it was like mixing fire, a little bit of fire and water, and together we were the perfect blend. So everyone still talks about that. They're like, that was so fun. And then we cheers and everyone drank with us. And it was a very special and unique way that we brought us and our heritage and our culture and who we were as personalities into our wedding ceremony. So think, it didn't cost any money really, you guys, but it was special and everybody still talks about it. So stop and think about what makes things you, and make that the day that you've always dreamed of, okay? Don't go over budget, and make sure your triangle gets in alignment, okay? And really have that strong conversation with yourself. All right, I think that's all we got. If you got any questions, I'm here for them.